Y'all, make sure you get your blood work. Like, I cannot stress the importance of this. Make sure you are getting your physicals. Make sure you're going to the doctor. Men, same thing. Like, at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on. And the only way to make sure that you're healthy or if there's a problem is through your blood work. If you're new to the channel, hello, my name is Jasmine. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about my struggle with thyroid disease. I am recovering from thyroid surgery. I had that April 4th. I'm not sure what day this video will be posted, and that's why you guys see the scar on my neck. So let's go ahead and get into it. I first discovered I was struggling with thyroid disease in my late teenage years, and my condition was hyperactive thyroid, meaning that my thyroid muscle was just, or my thyroid gland was producing just way too much thyroid hormone. And in case you didn't know, your thyroid gland, it's in your neck, right? And you have one on the right side and the left side, and it's to regulate all of your hormones, your energy, your heart rate, anxiety, your cooling system. So if you're sweating, just everything, your metabolism, like your thyroid gland is the most critical gland in your body in regards to hormones. And so people can struggle with hypoactive thyroid, meaning that their thyroid gland doesn't produce enough, or hyperthyroid, meaning that it produces too much. So I was struggling with hyperthyroid disease. And it first started because I noticed, or my grandma noticed, I hadn't started a period. So I was 17 years old and I hadn't had my period yet. So my grandma was like, she should have had her period. My grandma had her period at like 10. My mom had hers at 12. And here I am, 17 years old with no period, right? So that was the first, like, something's not right. And at the time, they did take me to the OBGYN, and they kind of just blamed it on the fact that I was very active because I was playing basketball in high school. And I was, when kids are like really active, sometimes that'll affect whether or not they start a period naturally. And so all the OBGYN did was just put me on birth control pills. And that last week, that's like no medication, I'm supposed to start that period. And I did. So that worked out fine. And the following month, I wasn't on birth control at all. And my body still produced period on that 4th week. So everything worked out. But that was like the first indicator that something was off. The second thing that my mom and grandma started noticing was, because I did play basketball, I was sweating way more than my teammates. Like, I was drenched in sweat, and I wasn't overweight at that time. I was a healthy weight, and I was active. I was in shape, right? But I was sweating way more than everybody else. Like, it would be 5 minutes into basketball warm up, and I looked like I just got out the shower, and we hadn't even done anything. We ain't even sprint up and down the court yet. Like, it was bad. So then they were like, okay, let's take her to the doctor. Why is she sweating so much? And that's when it was discovered that my thyroid levels were off. And so they referred me to an endocrinologist. They did some testing. They did some ultrasounds, and they noticed that I had just like a mass sitting on my right thyroid. And it wasn't really too much of a concern. It was just kind of there. And they suspected that that mass sitting on my thyroid like that is probably what's causing my thyroid to produce too much hormone. But they didn't give me any medication for it. They just said it was more or less something to just monitor over the years to see if it gets bigger. It wasn't cancerous or anything like that. It was just there. It was just like a nodule. And so that was that. I went off to college, living my life. I was still sweating more than most people, but it was something I could maintain. Like, I wasn't like too irritated by it to do anything further than just keep monitoring that issue. Well, I kind of stopped going to the doctor like, as I got like in my mid-20s and my early 30s. I just kind of was like, oh, I'm healthy. Like, it is what it is. So I would say about maybe like during 6 years or so, I was not getting regular blood work to see how my hormone levels were going. I wasn't doing any of that, right? Okay. Well, fast forward to, I was 31 and I wanted to get some plastic surgery done. And, if you're going to get plastic surgery, they do make you do testing just to make sure that you can handle surgery, right? Make sure you can handle anesthesia. They want to make sure there's no underlying issues with you. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, right? I kind of forgot I even had a thyroid problem. But when I got that blood work back, They told me I was not approved for surgery because my thyroid levels were off the charts and it would be extremely dangerous for me to undergo surgery. They were saying I might not make it. Like it was like that serious and I need to see an endocrinologist like yesterday. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, like, what's going on? And mind you, during this time, I was very overweight. I think I was about 340 or so during this time. I wanted to get lipo. I wanted to get a tummy tuck. Like there was just a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to do. And I also did notice that I was sweating heavily at night. Like, but again, I was so used to that it didn't seem abnormal. Sometimes when your body is struggling with something, you forget that that's not normal, and so that becomes your new normal. So me sweating at night, that was like normal. Like, what I always sweat at night, it just is what it is. I didn't think anything of it, but it was gradually getting worse. But again, I just blamed it on maybe I was just hot or just crazy things like that. But anyway, so they told me my thyroid levels were way too high. I was not approved for plastic surgery. I need to see an endocrinologist. So I'm like, all right. So I went, they did another ultrasound. That nodule that was on my thyroid had actually gotten 2.5 times bigger than when I was 16. So damn near double my life. It's gotten double in size. And it was forcing my right thyroid to produce even more hormone than my body could handle. And so reflecting back, I was always anxious, but I just blamed it on other things, like the fact that I hated my job at the time. I was sweating, but I was blaming it on the fact that I was extremely overweight, like I was morbidly obese. So I was just blaming all of these symptoms of hyperactive thyroid on just other things going on in my life. I wasn't thinking that it was a thyroid problem. And so they put me on methimazole, which is a medication that I was taking every single day to slow my thyroid hormone down, okay? And then I started losing weight, but I was doing that on purpose. Like I was already like, okay, well, I can't get the plastic surgery, I can't get the lipo, so I guess I don't have a choice but to lose weight the old-fashioned way, right? So I'm actually kind of blessed that that happened because losing weight the natural way changed my life. But anyways, so I'm losing weight, and as you lose weight, your face gets more small, your neck gets more small. I started to notice a lump on my neck, which I didn't see before, but it could have just been hidden because of all the excess fat that I had on me. But I did become self-conscious of it, and it was that nodule. That's what that was. And I couldn't tell if the nodule was getting bigger or if because I'm getting smaller, it's getting more noticeable. I know in some of my videos, a couple people had commented like, you need to check your thyroid. But I was like, I already know, like, I already know what it is, right? But it was getting to the point for me where I didn't like it. It's kind of like one of those things, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I was still losing weight. So I just didn't even know like how much more noticeable it would get. And so they also told me that with the methimazole that I was on, that's not a long-term treatment plan. That's just something to do for now to keep me from sweating so much, to keep me from feeling anxiety, to keep me from having racing heartbeats. Like it was just a temporary fix, but we had to figure out what was going to be the long-term fix, right? That was the goal. And so as the nodule was getting bigger, I was avoiding it because I'm one of those people, like sometimes I just don't want to deal with stuff. Like I just want to be in my own little bubble and just focus on, what I got going on today. And I don't really want to think about the unknown type stuff, right? I know it's a toxic habit, but that's just how I am. And so, like I said, it was getting more noticeable. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time to deal with this, right? And at this point, I'm on methimazole now I was on it for 3 years. I was doing the 10 mgs once a day. And so I had a couple of options. They could take the entire thyroid, and if they did that, I would be on medication for the rest of my life because now I no longer have a thyroid gland, so the medication would produce the hormones on my behalf. It was like a radioactive treatment where I'd have to go into the hospital. They give me like iodine. I would be radioactive for like 48 hours, and then the plan was that the iodine or whatever they give you would destroy the mass, right? And then hopefully leave the rest of my thyroid so that I would not have to be on medication, but there was still a chance that that iodine could destroy the entire gland. And then I would still need to be on medication for the rest of my life, right? And then the third option was a surgery where they just remove the mass, and they may have to take some of the right thyroid too. She would just only be able to know that once she got in there. So I decided to do this, and with that last option, they were hoping that I wouldn't have to be on medication at all, that my left thyroid would be able to produce enough thyroid hormone for my whole body. That was the plan. And so I didn't really want iodine or I didn't want to be radioactive. I didn't want anything going on or messing with other organs and things. Like that whole idea scared me. And so I decided to go with the surgery where they removed the mass. And so she did remove the mass a few days ago. That's why I have the scar here. But she said to stop taking the methimazole, and I'm going to do my post-op appointment in 2 weeks just to see how everything is healing. And then I need to go back to the endocrinologist 6 weeks after surgery so they can draw my blood to see if my thyroid levels are normal. And then if so, no more medicine. But I do have to go to the endocrinologist every year just so they can draw my blood and make sure that thyroid levels are how they're supposed to be, right? And so the surgery was great. I was scared, I'm not gonna lie, just being put under, but the surgery went well, everything went well. She was able to get the mass. I think she did end up removing most of my right thyroid, but I still have my left, which she was saying her hope is that my left thyroid would be able to handle everything. So that did happen. But right now I feel fine. I've only been off of my methimazole now for like 5 or 6 days. So that's not enough time to feel any hormonal changes, right? But I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that I stopped being a baby, stopped putting it off, and got it done. I think the big thing for me, like I told you guys a few minutes ago, most people, my endocrinologist was telling me, your everyday person isn't going to notice. The people who would notice are people who have either had thyroid issues themselves at some point, so they already kind of know what to look for, or medical professionals, right? So in outside world, nobody even noticed. Like I would tell people, they'd be like, "Oh, I can't even really tell," right? My mom couldn't really see it. She's like, "I guess." So most people don't see it, but I think the internet was starting to see it just because of how I placed my camera. When I'm talking, like you can really only see like my shoulders, my neck, and my face. So you will see it because you're like right there looking at me talking, right? And then like the doctors, they would notice it right away. I remember my PCP was like, "Are you gonna get that thyroid check?" Because it was starting to get bigger. But yeah, so I'm glad I got it done. I'm it's a little black right here. So I was like, okay. She said in a couple weeks I can start putting like some cream on it. I can start putting some sunscreen on it, right? So it doesn't get darker. So that's just my biggest thing right now. I will keep you guys posted, let you guys know how my levels are going. I personally didn't want to be on medication for the rest of my life anyways. So I'm glad I did this option as opposed to them taking the entire thyroid. I'm not sure why people would opt for the whole thyroid to be taken out if they only take out a portion of it. So I'm not sure what the reasoning for that would be, but I'm glad I decided with this option. I think my biggest thing was being able to create content because I'm not gonna lie, like I want to make sure I look my best when I'm on camera. Like that's just who I am, but it is what it is. And then she was saying that depending on how deep she had to get in there, she may end up rubbing against like my vocal cord or something. So my voice could have been a little raspy for a few weeks, but none of that happened. Like she did a great job. But I think that was some of the concern that I had, and just like the recovery time, being able to get back to creating content, running my business, all that stuff. But your health is your wealth. And I'm so appreciative of how the order of operations happened. Like because I couldn't get approved for the plastic surgery in the first place. And I was tired of being fat. I was like, okay, well, guess I gotta lose weight the old fashioned way for now. Like, shucks, now I gotta eat right. Now I gotta go to the gym, right? But I'm so glad I took that path because I've been able to maintain a healthy weight now for the past 4 years, even with the thyroid issues that I have or that had, right? Hopefully I don't have any more. But, I was able to learn how to eat right. I was able to learn how to exercise every single day. And those are things that I carry with me to help me live a healthy lifestyle so that hopefully I'm not on medications moving forward. Like if I was to just get the plastic surgery, well, I never went through that process of learning how to portion control, learning how to be active, learning how to lift weights. So then, I could have still been pre-diabetic, have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, but all those things fixed itself when I lost over 100 pounds and when I started changing my lifestyle. So I am happy that it happened the way it did, but my biggest takeaway is make sure you're getting your blood work drawn. Make sure you're doing your physicals because your health is your wealth. And I don't know what would have happened if I never wanted plastic surgery in the first place, right? Like, let's say I was cool with being overweight. I didn't want to fix anything. And I never went. And so they never drew the blood. Like, I don't know where I would be today. Like, how much damage would I have done to my body by not getting that checked out? Because at that time, like I said, they were telling me like I could have a thyroid attack, which they were acting like you kind of like pass out and you're in the hospital. And like they were like, I was like, oh God, like all this because I want some lipo. Like it was like that bad. So I am glad that it happened when it did. Changed my life. So I will keep you guys posted on everything. And yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, leave a comment down below. Do you have thyroid issues? Is anyone in your family struggling with thyroid issue? And it's crazy because no one in my family has this issue. So I don't know where this came from, but it is what it is. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.